Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to today's 1-hour webinar presented by Stahls and Transfer Express on the subject matter of organizing your space for better optimization of your time. My name is Mark Schwarb. I'm one of the Stahls territory reps. I'm based out of Florida and cover the Southeast for all the Stahls companies. And I am being assisted behind the scenes by Stacy. She is watching the chat, and at the beginning of these, we always ask that those that are coming in, chat in where you're from. We like to see that. We get a kind of a warm, fuzzy feeling when we see people coming in from all around the country. We're a national company, and during these events, we see people chiming in from East Coast to West Coast. So go ahead and give us a little sound out of where you're coming in from. The other attendees also, I think, are always amazed and encouraged by how many people are in here and where they're coming in from. As I said, my name is Mark, and I cover the outside sales throughout the Southeast, so I can cover most any subject matter. This one in particular kind of hit home because I spent 30 years on the other side, so to speak, owning and operating my own sporting goods business. And in that business, we did everything from screen printing to embroidery, and certainly a lot of heat pressing. So I now work on the side of a vendor that I used an awful lot in my business, and I love every second of it. I like a lot helping those of you that are beginning and getting started in this business. And with that, I want to, I'm going to post a poll question here. We did a pretty major event last week. Nothing like it in the industry that we know of has been held. The number of folks that attended our big Heat Press for Profit educational series last week was above and beyond anything we've heard. It was a 2.5-day event, and I think we taught and helped a lot of people understand what goes on in this industry and how to get better at it or get in it from the start. So I'm going to post a poll just asking if you attended that in any way. It's a simple yes or no. Nothing real probing here, and that'll give us a better feel for if people are wanting to continue their education even coming out of such a big and broad event. So I'm going to click a little start button here, get a poll posted, and we'll just kind of watch your responses come through. I can see a lot of yeses. Wow, this is rather quick. First time I've actually run a poll during one of my webinars, and so that's entertaining. And again, pretty rewarding to see the percentages of the yeses coming through, and also thinking that you would want to come in and view my webinar today. So obviously we're reaching some people and we're giving them good ideas, and all for free. So how much better can you do than that? I guess on that subject of free, I want to say that what I intend to do today is give you some free money. The age-old adage of time is money is never going to go away unless somehow society finds a way to get rid of money. If I can save you some time in your shop by putting forward some ideas that I've seen in shops as I've done my travels, the idea that will equate to some money in your pocket, again, is part of the rewarding portion of my job, to help you be more efficient, not have to run around looking for that pen, or that easy weeding tool or whatever. If I can save you a few minutes on every project, and that can add up to several minutes, 20, 30, 40 minutes a day, that you end your day earlier, or, reinvest your time in another sale or getting a jump on the next project, then I'll feel good about that. So we're going to venture to give you some ideas to economize your time, save your time, your workspace, and just, again, some things that I put into action in my own business and that I have seen in shops big and small across the country. I'm going to mention that the event that we just wrapped up the poll on, if you were registered and attended that, you now have access to the videos that were taken. You can go back and rewatch those and continue to learn. Those of you that chimed in that you did not, maybe you weren't aware, maybe you didn't register and you just kind of maybe regret it. Somewhere in the month of February, hopefully early enough in the month of February, we're going to post those videos on our Stahls TV YouTube channel. So for continuing education, for folks maybe you're bringing into your business and you want to set them down and say, watch this video, use it as some training. Again, refresher courses for yourself. Those of you that registered, you can go visit and see those anytime. Those of you that did not register, and this is the first you're hearing of it, give us a little bit of time. We're polishing them up, putting them in some order, and then getting them posted on our Stahls YouTube channel. So you may want to get on that and subscribe, like something, and then you'll get updates and constant messages of things that are coming up on there. If you don't know Stahls well enough, we do a ton of education. It's part of our heritage. It's what the Stahls family always has insisted on. And so there's just a ton of stuff out there on the YouTube channel and last week's event. All right, so let me just give you a little view of what I see when I'm in, again, a shop. Maybe I'm there a little bit early prior to an appointment. Maybe I'm, being guided around by the owner. A lot of times the owners want to say, come on back, I'll show you the back room, show you where we do our screen printing and embroidery. And I'm just, kind of standing, watching folks in movement and what's going on in there and what makes sense. And one thing that just absolutely comes front of mind is how work associates or people in the production area will constantly reach to borrow something that another person has. Let's just say a weeding tool, a pair of scissors, a storage box with letters and numbers in it. Whatever it is, they can't find theirs, and so they reach over, they grab something, they walk back to where they're working, and of course they utilize those scissors or what have you, and they set them down in their space. Lo and behold, this is typically unbeknownst to the person that had it in their workspace. And then he or she is, scrambling all around looking for whatever's now missing from their space. That goes on all the time. It's like just this cacophony of people moving and borrowing and, not putting back and that sort of thing. And that is just a huge time waster for this cycle of theft that's going on inside of a shop. So avoid that at all costs. If you are the person that doesn't have the pair of scissors, find yours. Don't take it from Bob and then make Bob have to search out where something as simple as a pair of scissors or a weeding tool or whatever, a roll of white heat transfer vinyl has gone. Be responsible for your own stuff and encourage it. If you're the owner, and I'm speaking to an owner, encourage your employees to adhere to that. That is a big source of time waste. I'm going to try to find little time drainers all around your operation, whether you're a one-person operation or a multi-employee operation. Today, I'm going to try to say, here's 2 minutes. Here's another 2 minutes. Here's another 2 minutes. Here's another 2 minutes. And boom, at the end of the day, Mark has given me tips for finding whatever, 30 minutes. And that's that money I'm talking about. I'm going to try to give you back some time and therefore some money. So in the race for time, the organized will always win. So if you feel like you're in a race and you can do better with your time by being organized, at the end of the day, week, month, whatever, you will be the winner as opposed to the shop that's ramshackled and just chasing their tails around. And when I say chasing your tails around, that's the other thing that I'm kind of seeing when I'm in these shops. Part of that, hey, I borrow this, I won't tell Bob, boom, boom, boom. We're all just chasing around looking for stuff that should be readily available. So we're going to try to zero in on saving all of you some time. Going to run a PowerPoint here. I do that so we keep some structure and some order and so I don't forget a lot of things. Stacy, I'm going to ask any questions at this point, 10 minutes in. Typically is not when questions come up, but while I hover here and go ahead and open up the slideshow, do we have anything coming through that needs to be answered now?
Nope, you're good at this time. Okay,
then let's fly this open and start to show you all some thoughts and some things that we put together, Stacy and myself for that matter. And there, just the title, Fun Ways to Organize HTV, and make this the year. We're doing this early enough in the year where, it's not a resolution. It's just a way of doing your business. It's a way to run your business, to just get more organized. And this is a great time to start it. You're heading into 2021. We hope everybody has a big 2021 that, hopefully things start roaring back and everybody just gets exceptionally busy. Well, today, tomorrow, this week might be the time to give some interest into how you're going to organize and how you're going to store things and make them easier to find and cut down on your wasteful portions of your day. So let's get cleaned up. Let's look at where you work. Is it orderly? Do you have the means to make it orderly? Do you have enough shelves? Do you have storage boxes? Do you use Ziploc bags? What is it? Are they all over the place? If you're honest enough with yourself to step back and look at your shop, from the door that enters into your shop and just scan from left to right, up to down, how are things? If you couldn't make it to work tomorrow and somebody took your place, could they walk in and relatively quickly learn where things are? Might be one way to approach it. The old hit by a bus. If you were unable to make it to work for the next couple of weeks and some relative or associate said, hey, I got this, I'll step in. I may need to call you once in a while, but assuming I can find where things are, I'll be good to go. Well, are you going to leave it in good order for them? Are they going to be able to jump in and maybe make their way around your shop, or are things hidden and out of sight and, pushed back, no labeling on the boxes of what's inside of them and things like that. So take an honest look at your own shop from just sort of the perspective of, if you weren't you, how would it look? And would you be able to step in? Take a look at your products that are there now. I can never know who I have on these webinars. I have got obviously some newbies. I've got some long timers. I may have some small shops. I may have some boutiques and some big shops. I honestly don't know. There's no way of knowing. But take a look at maybe the age of some of your current inventory. Maybe you adopted a shop. You don't have any idea what the age of some things are. I once had a customer call me. He wasn't getting good adhesion on some names that he had cut. And I said, can you take a look inside the tube? There should be a sticker there. And can you tell me, the date that is inside the tube? Well, there was no sticker. There was no date. There was no way of knowing. And so I just suggested, if he's got some of that hand-me-down or inventory that he purchased from a shop down the street that's going out of business, or however he came about that, he's going to have to check and test for whether or not he's going to get a proper bond. When I come back live, I'm going to show you a piece of heat transfer vinyl and give you the components of it and why they may age out and that you would need to maybe replace some. I'm going to also give you the tip now that you take the current tubes that you may have, or the rolls, and if you know when you got them and it's not labeled anywhere, write it down, put a sticker on the inside, put it, write it with a Sharpie or whatever else inside the cardboard tube, if that's how your heat transfer vinyl is rolled up. If your numbers and other items that you've got stored away don't have any kind of dating on them, be cognizant of it. Try to sort out what might be very old, and you may have to sort of bite the bullet and toss some things from time to time rather than risk damaging or not getting proper bond or what have you, a good or an expensive garment. So don't be penny foolish. Replenish. Okay, so go look at your current inventory. Is there plenty on the roll for your top colors? White, black, navy, royal red, gold. Maybe pink for breast cancer events, things like that. Whatever your top colors are, you probably have some top colors in your general vicinity from, a particular customer that has a color in their logo, or a school that has, a couple of colors that are their key colors. Are you well stocked? The cost of overnight airing, something that you're low on when you do need it, is very expensive. So be aware of A, your shelf lives, and B, how your inventory is holding up. So when we were talking about generally looking at your space and seeing how things are stored, there's also some important and things to keep in mind of how they're stored. We at Stahls, we're the world leader in heat transfer vinyl. Hopefully you're on this webinar because you utilize our product. If you don't, or you use somebody else's, the same rule applies. Heat transfer vinyl is all about the same in that it has an adhesive backing, a colorful polyurethane or polyvinyl, and then a clear carrier. And it's spun on a roll. And if you stack it, you are doing the right thing. If you stand it, you are doing the right thing. So if you look over your shoulder, wherever you are, and you can see where your products are, if they're standing up or they're on a rod or something else so that they're not stacked one on top of the other, you're doing the right thing. If you can see behind the picture with the international no sign there, and you see those rolls all stacking on top of each other, well, what could be happening there is that each one of those rolls is pressing down with some weight down onto the tubes below it, and where they're making contact, if they're not used pretty regularly, you have a pressure point that causes either the areas where all of that weight is coming down on to sort of stick together. So when you want to run that through your cutter, the cutter will pull, and that area that's stuck, it'll pull that roll right up, maybe drop it off of your cart or off of the stand. So do your level best not to stack them one on top of each other in the fashion you see on the right picture. Go for the standing method, or build a rack like I'm going to show you in just a second or two here. Try to watch out for humidity. I mean, I'm down in Florida and this stuff is stored in many different ways, but keep it in the air conditioned side if you can of your operation. If you have a warehouse and it's hot and humid, do remember that the product bonds to the shirt via a hot melt glue, an adhesive, and that high heat and some of that humidity over time in a roll that's not changed out or used quite a bit could cause the layers that are wrapped on that roll to join together. And direct sunlight can have the same effect of making that hot melt glue either gummy and gooey or brittle. So neither is good. And so just try to keep your inventory of your letters, your numbers, and your rolls in a climate controlled area with as little humidity as you can. Key slide, really a good product. And I mentioned, during my travels, I'm inside of shops, and this is a pretty common item that we see. And some shops that are big, we call it the wall of Stahl, and there'll be all these big blue boxes all stacked nicely. The ends of these boxes have a nice white area where you can write what's inside of them. So they're great organizers. In most shops, I can walk right over to the wall of Stahl and say, hey, I see your box there for your 6-inch white. That's awesome. You got it well labeled. I'm assuming the inventory inside of it's good. And, it keeps it fairly orderly. So we did want to mention that these boxes are for sale. You can actually buy these organizers, and you can see that they have in this case, a black insert divider. They are pre-made and pre-measured for the different products. You've got them for the letters, which is kind of antiquated. You can do 6-inch numbers, 8-inch numbers, or 10-inch numbers. And while they are designed for the letters and the numbers, that doesn't mean you can't put in logos or flex style or leather patches or whatever else in those divider slots. So these can be great organizing tools, and also a way for you to pretty quickly at a glance tell what's in it, because you get to label the box. And you just stack them one on top of the other, build some organizing shelves that'll fit those boxes and maximize your space, or maybe a better way to put it is minimize your wasted space. Pre-measure the boxes and what they're going to take. I had counters, actually, they were made in my shop, and they fit perfectly. There wasn't much space around the boxes once they were stored where they were supposed to be. So we had optimized our storage space, and it was not too difficult to tell somebody that was even new, hey, go over to that counter. You're going to find a box that says black 6-inch numbers, varsity, and grab that box. And so again, for speed and time, these boxes are great. You can remove the inside dividers and use the box just as that, a big empty box that has a nice folding lid that tucks in. You can take the divider out and maybe store it in a different way. But anyway, be aware that these boxes do exist, and we do sell them empty or as part of a kit when you order letters and numbers. So this next slide coming up will be from our Transfer Express division, showing their box and their storage method. They do not sell their boxes empty the way Stahls does. Over at Transfer Express, the box is filled. So when you see that you're going to need a lot of, say, 6-inch white numbers to do a job, or 8-inch red numbers to do a job, if you're at the borderline of maybe making more sense to order the 170-piece kit, and it gets you the box, it might be worth going that direction. So if you're placing a nice order for 6-inch white numbers and you say, you know what, I'd like another box, or I need to get started getting some boxes, take a peek at what's in the 170-piece team number kit, because it will come to you in this box. So that's a way to start accumulating them. They are great dividers. You can sit this box right next to you at the heat press when you're numbering a job, and hopefully knock it out with more efficiency. So storage boxes provided by Stahls and Transfer Express are sort of your first couple steps. Here's a picture of what I was suggesting, hanging or sliding your heat transfer vinyl onto a peg, or something coming out of the wall, so there is no pressure point. These rolls are not touching each other. You can adjust them. Make sure you get pegs that are long enough, for one thing. 12 inches on a 20-inch wide roll is going to cause it to tip a little bit. It's gonna want to maybe tumble onto the floor, damaging the edge or what have you. Get 15 or longer pegboard pegs if you can find them, and utilize them. If you can't get your 20-inch wide rolls on these pegs, stand them. That would be your next option. There is another option coming up that I'll show you live in just a minute, and a picture of. All right, so we need a way to store other things, our full color logos and items other than numbers and rolls. And for very little money, really. I mean, you can organize your shop really very inexpensively if you turn to the Ziploc method or the dollar store method of purchasing airtight or, quote, Tupperware type containers. I think it would be a good idea if they were clear, so you can kind of see what's inside of them. It'd be nice if they were easily labeled with a marker, what have you. But do try to keep costs at a minimum and optimize what you can store, and make it visible so that you can quickly see that you're reaching to get the right logo that you're looking for in your storage bin. So an inexpensive way to store a lot of things are pictured in these two items. This is kind of a no-brainer, but again, I see every imaginable type of storage when I'm out in my travels, and a lot of times it's a yellow envelope and it's written on the outside what it is, but you can't really see until you take the time to peek in it. And again, that might just be a little waste of a minute, and it's not a big deal at that time until you get to the end of the day and you're still in your shop later than you maybe want to be. So store them properly, plan for where you're going to store them. This is something I built. So this is a little PVC rack. Literally took me, I'm going to guess, I had to make a quick run to get some of the tees that are in it, but between a trip to the home store, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever you've got, and doing the cuts and putting it all together, I did not glue this. If I wanted it to be more permanent, I could probably go ahead and use the PVC glue and get it, really rigid and firm it up. This was meant as only a demo display for you all to see and maybe steal an idea or two from. In real world, I probably would not have used the 1/2 inch that I did. I'd be on the 1-inch PVC or what have you. But for about $15, I built a stand that can hold, I think, 10 rolls. I've got a few going to the left, a few going to the right as counterbalance. And you can do this very simple, for yourself. You probably can even think of some ideas to get the arms that are holding the rolls going in several different directions and optimize that space. The reason we included the picture on the far right was because that makes a terrific display. If you are a customer-facing operation, a boutique, a store, putting your rolls out on display in a colorful rainbow like that just sort of tells your customers, hey, we're in this for real. We've got this wide assortment. What color do you want? And knowing that you've got it. So it's a combination of a storage and a very functioning display. I think it's really nice to have the colors in a rainbow out in front of the folks that are shopping at your place. So do consider something like that for your display. Whereas in the back room, you might consider something more like the PVC stand for your inventory. Okay. Here we come to an item. Back in my time, we didn't have a nice fancy rolling storage cart quite like this, but we did okay. We had some carts that were on wheels, and we utilized them to take our let's say our stack of shirts and put them on it and wheel it over to the heat pressing area. A cart like this, to me, could be the best organizational tool in your operation. I think a very, very large counter is also key. Depending on the size of your job will kind of determine what I mean by large or what you think of as large, but sort of a landing counter where you can just put things down and have them be in a central area of wherever you're doing your work is key. Having a cart like this that you can say take the t-shirts that have come in off of the UPS truck and you've counted them in for accuracy and you just need to land them on top of something that can then be rolled over to where you put your where you do your heat pressing, invaluable. And because if you tend to work from your right hip over to the heat press off of your left hip for the finished shirt, you can position this cart right on your right hip. You practically will not even need to take a step to get the shirt over onto your heat press. We want to optimize and utilize that economy of motion. We don't want you walking 3 or 4 steps over to grab your shirt because it's on a faraway counter or anything like that. We want to keep the shirts real close to you for loading onto your heat press, and when they're done being pressed, unloading off of your heat press. So a cart like this can be great. Put one on your right hip, put one on your left hip to receive the finished shirts. You've got great storage shelves in there. Quite a few of the items that we use at a heat press, the craft paper, the Teflon sheets, the flexible application pads, and the insert pillows, they tend to be quite slippery. They're siliconized or they're just naturally slippery, and they tend to shift and move and slide off the counters. They end up underneath things and they just tend to go away. Well, that cart in the photo there is an example of something that can help you keep order among all of those things, all of those accessory items that you use at or around the heat press. I would say a fair number of extra heat platens would even fit on this cart, and that would be great to have things near you. Again, less of that chasing your tail around, wondering where things are in your workspace, and at the end of the day, more time for you. So if the most expensive thing you have to buy to organize your shop is this cart, I think it'd be a money well spent to help you get organized. And the key component of that cart is obviously the wheels, the portability. So make yourself one, buy one, inherit one, whatever you need to do, but do think about a cart like this. Our carts, our stands, we put this together because you may have limited space. And if your heat press is on a portable cart, you can then push it out of the way when you're not utilizing it. Maybe you need to optimize your space to lay out a whole bunch of shirts or do some sorting so that you can put them in color order or whatever it is prior to doing the job. At the end of the day, you may need to push your heat press out of the way over into the corner, into a closet, what have you. Well, the stands that we built allow you to do that. They're obviously on casters for rolling around. The stand on your right is actually a cart. We call it the heat press cart. It has a scissor effect for raising and lowering it. And that is because we have heat press operators of all different heights. So we want to give the operator the most comfortable height so that they're not bent over or slouched or, at the end of a long production run, feeling a strain in their neck or their back. Both of these stands are adjustable for height. Both of these stands come on casters. And so meeting your needs as far as your height can have a profound effect that how you feel at the end of the day when you've done a lot of heat pressing, as well as your storage. So consider the carts as part of your heat press purchase. It'll give you a real ability to be comfortable and to move your press out of the way when you're done utilizing it. Okay, I'm going to wrap up the PowerPoint and put myself back on live here. All right, Stacy, other than maybe people being mad at me for getting knocked off, do we have any chat questions?
I am looking through some of them right now. A lot of people were just chiming in with how they store their HTV right now.
Good.
And then let me see if there's any other ones. Oh, Tanya had a good question. She wants to know an appropriate space for a heat press machine. Is a carpeted room okay?
Sure. Nothing wrong with carpeting. I mean, it will maybe make it a little tough to roll if you're on our heat press caddy, the stand that I just had up in the slide. The rollers on it are kind of small, but bottom line is when we're at large convention centers and we maybe have our heat presses up in the education room and we need to transport them down to the trade show floor, we're rolling all of that across carpet with no problem. I mean, the nape of your carpet will have a lot to do with that, but yeah, you can put things on top of carpet. You might get a little static pop every now and then. I think that's something else that happens. Sometimes the convention centers, if they're a little cool and we're on carpet and you touch one of the metal parts of your heat press, you might get that little quick pop in your finger or what have you, but you'll get accustomed to that. And that's about the only drawback I can think of really to carpet. Yeah, I mean, that I see it all. Let's put it that way. I see carpet, I see tile, I see direct concrete. It just depends on how often and how much you need to roll things around. I think would be the determining factor of how much you like or dislike carpet. Might tend to be a little warmer for you. Things might tend to hit carpet and stay put. A pen or an easy weeder tool that rolls off of a counter and hits carpet, more likely to stay where it is instead of continuing to roll. Minor benefit. Anything else?
Yes. So a lot of people are asking, I did send the link for our Stahls equipment cart, the scissor cart. A lot of people are asking where the cart was from with the drawers and the doors on it, the one that was on wheels. I did find that on Amazon. I'm going to try and find a link right now, and I can put it in the chat box. And then we had some other questions. Robert wanted to know what is the shelf life of Ultra Weed, and then Betty also wants to know how can you tell when HTV goes bad?
Okay, so we really wouldn't know the shelf life necessarily of Ultra Weed because it's a new product. Frankly, people almost have to report, I think, to us to tell us, hey, I'm having some trouble with a roll of red, let's just say thermofilm in this case, and we can kind of probe around to the age of it because we put stickers inside the rolls that tell us when we spun it onto that cardboard core that we sent it to you on. And so if we start getting reports of, red heat transfer vinyl, thermofilm, whatever, not bonding by people, and we find out that, oh, in every instance, this has been 4 years old product, then we can start to tell you, okay, 4, 5, 6, 7 or more years, and maybe you're going to have a problem. Ultraweed is just that new. And I think that historically that hot melt glue in my operation was good to go for 3 years. I know in some cases we maybe say less, we post less, but I maybe we're speculating. Maybe we know for sure on our website and we're posting it. But if you think there's a question or a problem of some other product, let's get off the subject of Ultraweed because it is that new. You can't have Ultraweed in your shop right now that's more than about 8 or 9 months old. So you don't have a concern. Come around this time next year, come around this time in 2022, 2023, you may want to cut a little corner off of it if there's a doubt in your mind and try it on a tester shirt. Every apparel decorator has a little box of mishits and misprints and that sort of thing. So if there's a doubt, test it. What I did want to say if you have inventory from other suppliers, if you have inventory that it's unknown and you can speculate the age, maybe you bought a business and you can say, well, I bought that business 2 years ago. I'm going to guess this was in that shop for a year. Put a date inside that tube or some piece of tape inside that tube with a date of approximately how old you think it is. If you're worried about it, test it. You'll know. You'll know if it's going to come up. You'll know if it's going to bond or give you trouble. I would say that the age limit out on screen printed numbers from our Transfer Express division does have something to do with your climate. And in my South Florida business, it was about 2 years. So if you can track your numbers through your system and keep an eye out on things that are 2 years or older, it would be, again, highly recommended that you test before you go into a run of a set of basketball jerseys and have troubles. So, okay, so that's my answer about Ultraweed. What was the other portion of that, Stacy? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. The other question, actually,
cart. The cart. You found it at
Amazon. Yeah, I put the link in for that, and I also found the IKEA holder for the wall. Okay. But the second question was, Betty wanted to know, how can you tell when HTV goes bad?
Yeah, so it's sort of the same answer. You're going to have to test and just track how old it is. Our tubes, the samplings inside of it, the stickers inside the tubes are labeled with a date, and you can go from that. Stacy, am I coming through live on your side? All I see is my picture. Are you seeing me?
No, I just see your headshot photo. So I was going to ask if you could try and turn your camera on. There you go. Okay. There we are. Now we can see you. Perfect.
Right. So inside of a Stahls tube is a sticker, and it tells us an awful lot in there. There's a barcode, and there's some data and things published inside of there that can help a lot, knowing the age and what production line it came off of and all that sort of thing. So you shouldn't have a lot of question on our product unless, of course, you take that off that tube and onto another tube or no tube at all. Then you could lose track of its age. But I would, if there's a doubt, cut a little piece off. It won't cost you more than about a penny to test. Okay. As you can see, I've got some things behind me that I want to kind of dive into. I left this last 20 minutes or so for, again, some time-saving tips and things that I see. Just to my left is a Roland Cutter. It happens to have a steel structure, so it makes a wonderful landing spot for a magnetic tray. I found myself and my employees scrambling always around the cutter as far as where was a blade to do some cutoff, where were my scissors, I need to go weed, where's my weeder. And so when you can, mostly we found ourselves laying stuff on top of the cutter. Well, they only last there for so long before they get bumped off and what have you. So if you can organize by magnet and keep things hanging around you by having them be stuck there, all the better. You can take that tray around with you or position it on other metal factors. So that's a simple one. It's, don't think much about it, but if that helps you stay more organized, then all the better. I would say that you should consider purchasing lots of those items that you use all the time. Don't be bashful about just going and buying 4 pairs of scissors. Have them spread all around your operation. Have them readily accessible. Have them be in a bright color, and just get them out everywhere, so no one has to go too far to go find a pair of scissors. Same for blades, highlighter pens, things like that. That I can still remember. And it's been 15 years. I can still remember us just walking all over our operation to get a highlighter pen so that we could keep good track of a roster as we were making the jerseys, just checking off the names, something simple like that. That 1 or 2 minutes just looking for a simple highlighter. It's the same for pens, pencils, blades, scissors, weeding tools. I'm going to show you this weeding tool. I put a simple rubber band, twist around it so it can't roll. I mean, something very simple as that. These things tend to just roll away. It's the old, the meatball rolled off the table and onto the floor and so forth. Well, these things roll and they end up in all imaginable locations, lost and under, these are about 15 or actually I think they're $17. So let's say 20 by the time they arrive. Don't lose these. I mean, they're valuable. So is your time. Masking tape and some sort of a ball around the end of it or whatever, somewhere away from where you're going to generally hold it, but keep these from rolling off your table and running away from you. Would always be a good idea. We mentioned the Ziploc bags on the slideshow, and I think they're an obvious one. I doubt there's anybody here that isn't utilizing Ziploc bags. But one other thing about the Ziplocs is, okay, I got a bunch of them here. They're all stored and in here. Maybe I should take the time to label the bags with what's in them. All right. So one other pretty large time waster is, okay, I have an Ultra Weed logo in here. I'm getting ready to go over to the heat press. Hey, Bob, what's the time, temperature, and pressure on Ultra Weed? I'm getting ready to press another couple of these logos for this customer. I don't know. Why don't you check the Stahls website? Why don't you check the paper that comes in the box? Well, why not just have it right there, So when your junior associate, your part-time help, your grandmother that's helping you out for the week or whatever comes in, they can have a quick notation of what's in there and what time, temperature, and pressure to apply them at. It might take you a little bit of time to produce these, print plenty of them, and as your products go in the Ziploc bag, label them, tape it on there, write it in pen, whatever it is. I think you'll find a big time savings if the time, temperature, and pressure recipe is on the box or the Ziploc bag that you're storing things in. I mentioned heat transfer vinyl and how it's made, and so I had a sheet here. So we have the adhesive layer. There is a hot melt glue applied to this. Like I said, there's the polyurethane portion of heat transfer vinyl, which in this case is the emerald colored glitter flake, and then there's the clear carrier on top. It's when we set things down and apply a pressure point that the hot melt adhesive can, sort of weld itself to the wraps, and again, not unwind real smooth and easily when you go over to the cutter. So store your heat transfer vinyl standing up like I have in the background here, or on this simple rack that I built. So the rack that I built, I put up here. Like I said, I did not glue it yet, but you could do a lot of things here. I mean, these can go outward in all manner of directions. Again, counterbalancing so that there's some weight on this side of it to keep it from wanting to go the other direction when all the rolls are on it. This is a miniature version, but it's expandable. Here again, if I had made it in a more heavy duty 1-inch PVC or even bigger, I could continue to go up. I could probably feel comfortable making this thing 6 feet tall, and I could easily have put more of these. I was accounting for some rolls being fairly large. Keep your large rolls towards the bottom for some weight. You might even be able to fill the bottom tubes with some sort of weight like sand or something else, so it stands up nicely and doesn't come toppling over. So you can build your own. Like I said, $15, and you can build something like that with very little time. I mentioned buying extra tools of everything that you use around, squeegees, those sorts of things. Just have plenty of them. They're not expensive. Your time is more valuable than skipping on having, tools of the trade readily available. I mentioned these and the need to store them properly so they're close at hand. That storage cart would be great, or even just a simple flat box that these things can be in near your heat press or your various heat presses if you have a wide number of them. They're very, like I said, they're very slick, and they tend to just, I don't know what it is, but in real life situations, they tend to just slide right off of each other. And the next thing you know, you're spending 5 minutes, recollecting all of your craft sheets and everything else that just went sliding off onto the floor because they're so slippery. So try to maintain control of these, keep them in some kind of order. You might want to consider maybe some sort of minor clothesline or something, so that you could, when you're not using them, pin them, into the wall, or clothespins or something like that, so they're readily available. One little trick we use in my shop, and this isn't really storage based, but I like to clean shop. I didn't like a lot of lint. I certainly didn't want all the little weeds that we had pulled out, all the little centers of the O's and the A's and the P's all out around the counter and on the floor, what have you. When you strip your logo, or after you've peeled your logo, you have a wonderful tool right here for going around your shop and just picking up all sorts of things that are out around your counters. So at the end of the day, my guys and I, we would just take some discard carrier sheets that had the tackiness to them and go around and pick up all of our little messes that accumulate all day long, in the shop. It's nicer to come back to a refreshed shop and get to work the next day without having, a bunch of loose innards and cavities from weeding, or tags, or just the lint and things that just generally come off of shirts while you're working in an area. Let's see. I want to make sure I check them all off. We want to, I'm going to suggest that prior to a run, you get everything that's needed to do that run gathered up and in an area. You've got your shirts, you got enough smalls, your mediums, your larges, your extra larges. Well, go over to your numbers and make sure you've pulled the proper number of 1s, 2s, 3s, and so forth to do the job. You don't need them all spread out all over the place. If you have our boxes, great, because then you can just reach in and as you need a 1 and a 2 to make a 12, or a 4 and a 3 to make 43, or what have you, they're right there. But bring all of that in close to you when you're at the press. Grab your shirt off of your right hip, let's say, get it onto your heat press, have your number right there, ready to go on that size. And when it's done in one motion, drop it on something to your left. Give yourself a nice U-shaped workspace that you're not walking over to get a shirt and bringing it over here. And, oh, I forgot to grab enough 3s. I got to go back over here to get another additional 3 or what have you to finish this job. Keep it tight. Keep it organized. You'll work much more efficiently. If you get interrupted, of course, we're going to get interrupted during the day. Do something to be a little bit of a placeholder. Whether you set something on the press or on top of the next shirt to remind you that you are now on Smith number 38 on a medium. So you don't come back and have this like disheveled feel about where did I leave off? What shirt am I on? What was the location? Don't come back to a mess or some disorder that you caused for yourself. So leave yourself some sort of little placeholder, little reminder of where you are in the job. So you don't have to double backtrack and go through the pile that's already over here and make sure you've already done Jones and Thomas and, all the other names. Be orderly at the press and it'll save you, again, that time that we're looking for. Stacy, anything come in since we sort of shifted gears to my being live?
Yes, we do have a lot of good questions coming in. Deborah had a good question. I know earlier you touched on the importance of avoiding sunlight and humidity. She wants to know, does coldness affect HTV and permanent sign vinyl? Her crafting room is in her basement, which doesn't get heated all the time.
I think it could have a deleterious effect of just, being cold and hardened. I've happened to live my whole life in Florida, having encountered that end of the spectrum, but my mind is telling me that yes, when things get extremely cold or near freezing, they tend to get brittle. And I would say something that's nice and flexible and meant to stay that way should have some stretch to it, through its life without becoming brittle or likely to crack when it's stored at a near or at a freezing temperature. Probably could have a, I don't know, drying effect to it. Maybe you come back to some heat transfer vinyl where it's crunchy, or maybe not as pliable as something that's stored in 70, 60, 50 degree heat. I don't know. You may have to test that for yourself. If you're where you are now and it's cold right now, go get it. Peel a little bit off like I did earlier, and give it a stretch and just see, is it able to stretch without the glue being cracky, or can you roll it off, or anything else that you would think might be part of deterioration.
That's awesome. Makes sense. Paul had 2 questions. His earlier question, he just got a silhouette cutter. And for starting out in this business, which HTV would you recommend as the best type of starter material, and how much should you have on hand to start?
Yeah. So how much to have on hand would be determined by the color and what's popular in your region. Is there a color that we may not think of as being popular, may not make our top 10 list in sales, but it might be extremely popular in your area? When I ran my business, there was 4 youth programs in high schools in my general area that were Kelly green. I needed more Kelly green on hand practically than I needed of white. That's crazy to think about. But one was Kelly green and orange, one was Kelly green and silver, one was Kelly green and black. So I needed Kelly green more than practically anybody else would ever think of. So if your area has a color that's very important, stock up on it, make sure you've got enough of it. If you look at our data, it's very clear cut. White is king, and it's not even close. So to have a 25-yard roll of white on hand at all times, or, as you start to, spin it down and you see it, it's coming down lower to get another 25 yards, it's not going to go to waste. You're not going to carry that over for years and years to where you have any concern about it, getting old. So white, black, red, royal, navy, and maybe athletic gold would be in the mix for just about any business. From there, you go into some of the metallic colors if you're in that category, or the glitter flake category. Silver and gold are king. There's, again, and the space between silver and gold and all the other colors is as big as it is from white and black to the other colors. So go with the top colors, stock up. You won't regret it. Because if you have it and you never pay an overnight air to get a roll, I will be that much happier for you. Overnight air is out of control. You want to be proactive. When you get to the end of a roll, by the way, aside from the which material question, when you get to the end of a roll, stop what you're doing and order more. For goodness sakes, you're out. You need more. Take a moment, jump on our website, get it ordered. If you forget it at the end of the job, you get a distraction, you forget that you just ran out of red. The next job that comes in and needs red, and you're either hunting around for it, you're out, it causes you to have to do an overnight air or jump in your car and drive somewhere to purchase it at retail, for goodness sakes. Don't do it. It's just not worth it to not just get it on the road, know in your mind it's going to arrive, it's going to replace what you just ran out of. So when you get to an end of a roll should be your key. If you can't place that order right that minute, set that roll on your desk. So when you do sit down at the end of the day or the beginning of the next day, it reminds you to get that ordered. All right. Ultra Weed is the material I would recommend at this point. If you're coming in new, the results are in. Ultra Weed is doing very, very well. The product is American made. We are building the palette up to about 60 colors. It comes in at a very advantageous price. We have folks around the country that do reselling for us, and it has really started to pop for them as well. So our Ultra Weed is, well, it's an easy to weed product, so it's quicker. On the subject of saving you time, that time can come in saving you time at the weeding process. So do give some consideration to Ultra Weed. If you happen to be in the athletic side of things and you need a stretch product that is also easy to weed, is economical, does have a lot of colors, and it's premium plus high tack would be my next go-to material. So those two can round out most shops. You're going to find a need for some specialty materials like glitter flake, like metallic, maybe some flock, reflectives, things like that. But those are going to be your core materials.
Perfect. Thank you. Just a few more questions because I know we're running low on time. Bobby was asking, what is the best Stahls material when printing from a latex ink printer?
I don't think we have anything that we recommend for the latex printing at this point. I believe there is a new printable heat transfer vinyl that we first test it for the aqueous solvent printers because that's primarily what we sell, and that's what's mostly out in the market. I don't know if you're actively involved as a Stahls customer, watch for some announcements that may come about our premium print heat transfer, printable heat transfer vinyl, working with the latex printers. But right now, I don't think I have anything that I can say definitively is the go-to for a latex printer.
And then a lot of people are saying in the chat that they're going to be running to Home Depot after this. So it looks like you inspired people after this webinar to go to Home Depot. Chrissy wants to know if you have a written plan for the PVC example.
I had a feeling that was going to come up when I was making it. I don't, because as I was putting it together, I really could have done it so many different ways. I don't know if you can screen capture or how you would see what's involved there. And again, kind of deciding, there's so many PVC parts that you could really trick this up. Frankly, I could probably even have these going on an upward angle. If I had bought a 45-degree elbow, then this pipe, rather than going out straight, could be going on all upward angles, which I think would be optimum really for sliding a tube on it and not worrying about it, pushing down so much. And here's what I'm going to say to that. Don't rule it out. I don't know when we would publish it or what design we would finally settle on. I did determine as I was building it that I needed to do this connection here just to stiffen it and give it a little bit of a spine. So in your mind or on paper, design a rectangle. Design how you're going to have your uprights go. Use T's. And then if you choose a 45-degree angle portion of PVC with the pipe going that direction. Once you've assembled it and you think you got a good design, I think probably you would want to break it back down and then start using the PVC glue that would make it all that much more rigid and more permanent. Except for maybe the very top where you may want to take this off and in the future expand upwards. Okay, so right now, no, I did not draw out the plans. When I say $15, I got that because each one of these is about a 60-cent item. The tubes, the pipe itself is only a few bucks. I don't know. It might be a $25 or $35 rack if I did 1-inch PVC, but it's super simple and super versatile, and you could, without them being glued, I literally can, twist things. I can have pipes going that way, and I can have pipes going this way so that they're, every imaginable direction. So hopefully that'll inspire you to at least get started and give it a try. Don't overthink it. We don't want paralysis by analysis. Get engaged with it. If you don't have it, get a hacksaw at the very least. I'm a do-it-yourselfer, so I happen to have had the PVC pipe cutters. Made it very quick to put together.
Thank you, Mark. Just a few more questions. I answered this one privately, but I don't know if there was a follow-up to it. Seneca wants to know, she wants to print colored images on garments, but without the shiny look. She's looking for a print sheet that fits inside the shirt I don't know of anything that prints inside, but I do remember in a past webinar that the Teflon sheets can usually dull down the shininess. Is that correct? Or is it the craft paper?
The other way around. The
craft
other way
paper.
around.
Okay.
What we find is that after you've pressed and cleared your carrier away, if your next pressing is done with our siliconized craft paper, you will get a more matte or muted or whatever, dull surface than when you first peel it away. The opposite of that comes from when you use our quick slip cover. It's a Teflon-like product. This tends to leave more of a glazed or shiny effect on heat transfer vinyl or our CAD prints, which are our full color prints. So more to the muted side, siliconized craft paper. More to the shiny side, the Teflon product. Okay.
Thank you. I confused the two, so I appreciate you going over that.
That's all right.
And then the final question, Anthony said he lost connection or his link dropped. He wanted to know if you could recap what the preferred humidity for storing was. He has his humidifier running right now at 50%.
I don't know. I
don't know off the top of your head.
Okay. I've never been in a shop that literally had a humidifier running. I have been in very large operations that had a specific room that was air conditioned to be cooler. They store hundreds of thousands of transfers, more transfers than vinyls. Okay, first of all, a very big operation, national brand. You would know them if I told you. They built literally a room dedicated to keeping that area drier and cooler than the warehouse area where the heat pressing was going on, which was not very comfortable. Okay, so they had a reason for building that room. They could never keep their warehouse and their employees under that kind of cool and dryness. They'd spend a fortune. So I don't have a key humidity level, but I've also never known anybody to need to add or remove humidity, more so just under a human comfort. So if your offices and that portion of your business is where it's more comfortable because air conditioning is running, that's where you want to take it. In the winter, if it's the opposite and heat is running, I'm not going to say move your stuff out of there, out to the warehouse where it's cooler. Just be cognizant of a very humid, hot surrounding is, I think, what I could summarize that down to. Stacy, in your time, have you seen us post anything regarding?
Yeah, actually, while you were talking, I just looked on our site and I just pasted it in the chat box. But if you are on the Stahls website and you're looking at any of our HTV products, we do list it under storage. So if you were to, I just looked really quick for Glitter Flake, under user guide for storage, it tells you exactly how to store it, what percentage it has to be at. So it is on our site for all of our products. And I just pasted it in the chat for reference if anyone wants to look at that.
Excellent. I mean, that just tells you how much we do testing. Those of you that don't know it, we have real live full-time chemists testing products all the time in Michigan. We take this very seriously, and I'm pleased to find out that we've gone to the steps of starting to list humidity. Okay. So as a wrap up, I'm going to encourage you to make this month, if not, this year, the time that you really look at your workspace. If you have employees, just stand one day and just watch, how they move, where they go, what their wasted time and energy and effort amounts to. Work on ways to drop that down. Build big counters, build nice storage, use sensible storage containers, be they Ziploc bags, something as simple as that, on up to our boxes or things that you buy that have snap top lids. Organize your workspace by having your tools readily accessible. Chop out all of that chasing the tail around the shop. Work in a sensible order from where shirts arrive to where shirts get printed, to where shirts get folded and boxed, to where they ship. Make it go in some sensible order instead of a zigzag around your work area, your shop, your warehouse, what have you. Make 2020 the year you're going to do that. I want you to have more time on your hands for more sales, more free time, more family time, whatever it is. The greatest reward to come out of a presentation like this would be to know that at least 139 people that attended all wrap up their day with a sense of completeness, and that they can go home or go pick up the kids and not have some prior job that they wasted time on, causing them to be tense, unavailable, not their mind on, having a good time with their kids or whatever it is they're going to do, exercising, whatever can make you feel better for the next day's job. Utilize your time better, plan your workspace, and make more money, or give yourself free money, whatever it is. At the end of 2021, hopefully you'll look back and say, Mark, thank you very much. So with that, I'll say thank you to you for attending. Hopefully you got a pointer or two in here that saved you some time. All right. Thank you, everybody. See you the next time.